Good morning, everybody. How are you? I hope you're having a great Wednesday. Oh, I was going through a ton of articles last night about illegal crime happening here in the United States. And I'm telling you what, it is unbelievable how the rates of these crimes are rising and how they're becoming more brazen and who is perpetrating a lot of these is Venezuelan gang that has come up, from Venezuela and up through South America, causing trouble all along their way, and now they're here. They are involved in a lot of this. And I just like to keep everybody informed because obviously the mainstream media doesn't do this sort of thing. They don't keep you informed. They don't let you know what's going on. And it's getting scary, and especially when I'm realizing how many more victims there are. And after my family has been affected by being a victim of illegal alien crime, my son being killed by a drunk illegal driving the wrong way, I really don't want to see other families in my country going through this. I don't want to see the grief and the pain. I know too many of these families, parents, grandparents, aunts and uncles, brothers and sisters, nieces and nephews, and I see the pain in the eyes of them when they talk about their loved ones. And these are innocent Americans who are either hit by a drunk illegal driver, murdered for money, robbed, assaulted, women are raped. It doesn't always end up in death. I mean, there's victims that are still alive who've been raped, who've been assaulted, who've been in a serious car accident, maybe left permanently damaged, as was Kathy Inman and in Georgia. But the victim list is growing and growing and growing. And I started thinking about this yesterday. In reality, as American taxpayers, we are being extorted by our federal government because we are required to pay taxes, and they are using that money to give illegals free flights, free food, free hotels, free cell phones, free Visa cards with $5,000, $2,000 on them, and giving our hard-earned taxpayer money that we turn over to our federal government, giving it to these non-governmental organizations who are facilitating this. I was reading a social media post. Sorry, Bella sees the neighbor out with her dog. Bella. And they were at an airport and they saw a sign that actually said no ID line, basically. So all these people were getting into the line at the airport let me see if I can pull it up here, if I can remember which post it was, because there's so many of them that I get text to me by this wonderful military wife who does research for me. Bella, come here. Come here. Okay, so I have it here. Let me share it with you. She's not going to stop fussing until these people go back in the house, unfortunately. Made some observations as I boarded the flight in Tucson, Arizona. At security, there's a line specifically for illegal immigrants. It says no ID line. So his assigned seat on the plane was taken, or her, by a migrant family. So she had to move seats across the aisle, not the window seat that she paid extra for. And there were several of these families on my flight, all with blue Five Below bags and white envelopes. I managed to get a picture of the envelope and What do you know? Their flights were sponsored by Catholic Community Services. I'd like to understand how it makes any sense that most people are required to show ID to board a flight, but when you've committed a crime and illegally crossed the border, you are not required to show identification and then provided free air transportation, a major expense to the rest of us. And here you go, folks. Here is the blue bag that all of them carry, and they've got their paperwork inside there, and it showed that it was Catholic Community Services that that's the paperwork that they were carrying. So I don't understand how anybody in their right mind, and especially elected officials, can feel that this is the right thing to do with American taxpayer money. And it's very, very true that they already have crossed our border illegally and they're just being rewarded for their behavior. And that is the last thing that should be happening, is being rewarded for bad behavior and breaking our laws. Laura, yeah, she saw that at the international airport in Tucson last week also. And Laura lives in Tucson. So it's crazy. It's crazy that people who are actually going to the airport are having to witness this also, because it's actually made a lot of people feel like they're violated when they go to the airport. I was traveling a lot during the Trump administration, going back and forth to DC, and there was one particular pair of jeans I wore them one time, and they pulled me aside and like did a physical hand pat down of my private parts. And they said something came up in that area. And I'm thinking, I've got a pair of jeans on. Like, what could possibly come up in a pair of jeans? So anyway, fast forward to a month or so later, and I happened to be wearing those same jeans, and it happened to me again. And I thought, I don't know what's in these pair of jeans. But from then on, I made sure I never wore those pair of jeans when I was traveling and having to go to the airport, because something in them was triggering the machines to make it seem like there was something between my legs. And it was quite embarrassing. It was, it felt like I was violated, but as I'm watching other women and men having the same thing done to them. But these illegals are never, ever patted down. They're never scrutinized the way that American citizens are, or foreign citizens who are traveling through our airports. They're never scrutinized that way. The illegals aren't. They don't have to go through the x-ray machines. Their baggage, their backpacks don't have to go through the x-ray machines. They can carry open containers of whatever drink that they're drinking and get through the lines. We got to throw it away as we're getting ready to go through the x-ray machine. As we're going through TSA, we have to throw away any open drinks that we may have. You can't carry a Starbucks through the line, or any other coffee drink for that matter. And these people are just given carte blanche on our money. So we're paying to allow them this luxury of flying worry-free across the country anywhere that they want to go. It truly is extortion of us, folks. We are being forced to pay for these lousy, disgusting decisions that the Biden administration and Mayorkas have made as far as what happens to illegals when they cross the border. We don't have a say in it anymore. That isn't the way I want my taxpayer money to be spent at all. I don't think any of those people deserve it. And, I had another article sent to me where this guy was talking about how long it took him to get over the border. And all he was talking about, hold on, I want to bring this up. Well, first of all, I'll get to that other situation in a second. So this guy, DHS sources confirmed the illegal immigrant who reportedly assaulted a Border Patrol agent last week in the Quemando area is wanted for murder in Mexico. 32-year-old Mascara Reyes has a lengthy history in the U.S. as well. He was encountered more than a handful of times and was subsequently removed in 2023. Sources confirm that he is still in the hospital and remains in CBP custody pending criminal charges. The agent involved shooting happened in the Del Rio sector, where the chief is reporting that over the last 90 days, 10 agents have been assaulted by combative subjects. The agent sustained a fractured rib. Reyes was shot in the leg, and sources say the agent used a tourniquet on scene and likely saved Reyes' life before he was airlifted for treatment. The FBI is currently investigating. So this dude decides that he's important enough that he needs to come over our border unhindered and decides that he's just going to go ahead and attack our law enforcement officer, the Border Patrol agent, at our border. Now, the FBI is currently investigating. So what does this mean? He's deported and he goes and crosses in another area under another identity next week or a week after he's released, deported once he gets out of the hospital. But do they put him in jail? Yes. These illegal criminals need to be put into jail and spend some time incarcerated here in the United States for the crime they've committed. It's the only way that they're going to get the message that when you do crime in the United States, there's consequences for it, right? Sorry, folks. Hold on. Oops, I was muted. There's people riding by on bikes, and so that's a major concern for protecting me. So I apologize for that. Anyway, these criminals need to spend time in our jail system, in prison, and that would be a better way of spending taxpayer money to create a situation where they're going to go in and they're going to spend time in jail. I'd rather pay that than pay for them to have a free hotel and a free flight across the country and free cell phones and Visa cards handed to them. I'd rather have my money spent in a way that's going to send them a message, not to reward them for what they've just done. But let me see if I can find this other article. Oh, every time I open one up, it's like, oh my gosh, I got to show you guys this one. She's on one today, I'm telling you. All right, let me go up a little bit more. There's so many of them that it's hard to find the one that I want to show you when I start talking about it. I'm sorry. I can't find it off the top of my going through the most recent text messages that she sent me. So I'll go ahead and show you this. Now, I don't know how many of you know from watching this show how much I hate Mayorkas, but I hate the man. Can't stand him because I really feel like he is a liar And he will never tell the truth because he knows exactly what he's doing. He knew exactly what he was going to do once he got into this position. So he says some migrants tried to game the asylum system as border crisis remains the top political issue. Really? Some immigrants try and game it. They're all gaming it. And that was the other article that I wanted to show you, was this guy who came here from it was a Central American country, but he was doing fine there. But he decided to come here to the United States for a better opportunity to make more money. And this is the whole thing. That is not credible claim for seeking asylum in the United States, coming here for a better life to make more money. And that is what probably 98% of the people coming to the border, well, I take that back. Probably about 90% of them coming to the border are wanting, is a better life and more money. That is not a credible asylum claim. And then the other 10% is probably terrorist-related criminal type minds that are coming here to do bad things, right? Sorry, I'm trying to see if I can get this video to come up, and I can't stand these flashing ads. Anyway, Mayorkas said that some migrants crossing the southern border try to game the U.S. asylum system, a hardening of rhetoric as the crisis at the border remains a top political issue. He's so stupid. Some of them, all of them are. The reality is that some people do indeed try to game the system, he told CBS News on Thursday. That does not speak to everyone whom we encounter, but there is an element of it, and we deal with it accordingly. Yeah, you just let them into the country. The remarks represent a change in rhetoric from the DHS chief, who has typically emphasized the need to speed up claims and has defended the asylum system. And Republicans have typically focused more on the ease with which migrants can cross the border and be released, even if their claims are bogus. He finally admitted, by the way, in Congress that more people have crossed the border under Biden than Trump. That's a big thing for him to admit. There was a record 2.4 million migrant encounters in fiscal year 23. And I tell you what, folks, that's a big fat lie, because it's more like 7 million. Look at this face. Ugh. I got to get this article down. I can't stand looking at that man. So this is a disgusting situation, and this is where the Venezuelan gang members are coming in to really, they're beefing up the crime rates here in the United States. My allergies are so bad again today. And this ad won't go down. All right, we'll try pulling this up again. Let me see. Sorry, folks. All right, I'm going to share it again. I have it pulled up without that silly ad stuck on the screen. So, Venezuelan gang members arrested over Louisiana sex trafficking ring. So, this is a clear example. Look at this little creep who was arrested. This is a clear example of how the Biden administration and Mayorkas are facilitating sex trafficking in the United States. I don't care how you try and twist this, folks. This is this administration facilitating sex trafficking in the United States. So they have arrested a number of men believed to belong to the Tren Diagero gang in connection with an alleged sex trafficking operation involving illegal immigrants. They were apprehended by law enforcement at different stages of the investigation. The men are accused of having pimped out one of the victims, a young woman from Venezuela, for sex to pay off a debt after they helped her and her family into the United States. She and the other victims helped identify their roles in the operation. So these gang members helped her and her family come to the United States because, hey, Biden and Mayorkas are saying, come one, come all. Come on, it's a great life here. So this young girl and her family have these gang members help them get here financially, and now she is being sex trafficked to pay off that debt. According to a complaint, the victim was recruited into a scheme by the members of the gang when she was in Venezuela. They promised to handle everything for her and her family in exchange for $30,000, which she later learned she'd have to pay off via prostitution. And after arriving in the U.S., she began doing sex work in Texas. And after a while, she was offered help by investigators in Baton Rouge. However, she declined out of fear that the gang would hurt her family. And in April, the gang flew her out to the Louisiana capital, where she was housed in an apartment with another female victim. One of the guys arrested was allegedly the middleman between the men and the victims, organizing sexual encounters between them, keeping track of how much debt was left to pay off, and ensuring they adhered to the house rules. So Diaz and I can't pronounce this other guy's last name were revealed by the victims and those familiar with the matter to be the bitch and the brains, respectively, of the American operation. The latter allegedly oversaw up to 30 women in multiple states, and they are both being held in federal custody. So this is just a clear indication. These Venezuelan gangs, they know exactly how to come here and work the system and game the asylum system at the border as Venezuelan gang members and get themselves into the country, and then come here and live a life of crime, making money for themselves. And all in the name of prostitution and sex trafficking. Now, if Mayorkas hadn't let these people across the border, if Mayorkas and Biden hadn't thrown the border wide open, this wouldn't be happening. Therefore, they are facilitating sex trafficking. They don't care what happens to these people. They don't care how many of them die on their way up here, because it is a terrible route. It is a terrible thing to undertake, and they are promised anything and everything. These people who come from Venezuela and some of these other socialist type countries, they come here thinking, we came here because the American government is going to take care of us. This is what they've been told. This is what they've learned in their country, because that's how the socialist countries work. So now they come here, and that's what they expect. Everything for free. An apartment. They're going to find me a job. I'm going to get food for free. Everything's going to be great when I get to America. And it's not, folks, because guess who's suffering the most right now? Well, these people have suffered greatly for what they've gone through, but they never should have left their countries. The majority of them are living pretty good lives. And they took the enticement by the United Nations and all these other NGOs that come into their little towns and villages and encourage them to go ahead and take the truck, because these NGOs, this is profitable for them. The more of these people that get on the road and start heading up here, the more money they're going to make. They do not care about those people and their lives and what they're about to go through. But the real people who are suffering are the United States citizens. The exact people that this administration and Mayorkas took an oath to protect. And they have left us to hang out to dry. They're stealing our taxpayer money and supporting illegal criminals on our soil. That's what they're using our taxpayer money to support. They're handing out millions and billions of dollars to these non-governmental organizations to do their dirty work, so that it can't be traced back to them actually doing the facilitating. But folks, they're guilty by association. And every one of those people in this administration have gone along with spending our money on facilitating sex trafficking, human trafficking, and just basically opening our border to violent criminals to come in here and harm us, they need to be held accountable. They need to be held accountable. So we're suffering because, number one, there's a housing shortage. And listen, inflation's not going to get any better, because when you bring millions of people into our country, millions, and there's more, and that's just more of a demand for product, for housing, for everything. And when that type of situation happens, that does nothing but drive the prices up. Supply and demand. And that's what living in a free country means. But when you have a government who is facilitating this and causing this to happen to us, like I said, to the very people that they took an oath to, everybody I'm talking to nowadays is all they're talking about is the grocery bills. It's insane how expensive things have become. And this just isn't like a 10 or 20 cent rise in the price of something. It's big rises. It's over a dollar. It's close to a dollar. It's $1.50. It's $2. It's $3. It's unbelievable when you really take time when you're in the grocery store to start looking at what you're paying for and how much it's gone up during the Biden administration. And it's going to keep going up because guess what, folks? The borders are still open, which means more people are still crossing over into our country, which means the demand is going to continue to go up. And then you've got, the Bill Gates and all these elites that are buying up farmland and buying up water rights and doing that type of damage behind the scenes, trying to knock these farmers out of business, trying to knock these cattle growers out of business. And I really feel like things are really starting to fall apart as far as the climate change, the Green New Deal, all of this type of stuff is coming to light, that what they've been telling us for years and pushing is a lie, is a complete lie. Cow farts isn't the thing ruining our atmosphere. You've got countries like India and China who could care less about the atmosphere and the environment. And those are the countries that are doing more damage than the United States. We are very careful in what we do, but in the same sense, we cannot get rid of our natural resources. We've got to be able to drill for oil. We need to become energy independent again, like we were under Trump. There's so much that needs to happen to get this country back to the place that it was when Trump was in office. And whether you're a Trump supporter or not, you cannot deny the fact that we were in a better situation economically, even socially. You're going to have those weirdos who have the Trump derangement syndrome, and there's always going to be the kooky kind of people around. But I think that we were more of the patriotic type feelings and notions and everyday interactions with people were becoming more and more prominent. But you've got the agitators and you got the activists who are going to continue to keep this up. And you know what? The liberal and the World Economic Forum and all these places that want this one world government and open borders, and basically they want the borders open of America. They don't care about any of these other countries. They're not pushing this type of immigration. It happened in Europe, and that's been a pretty sad decline over there also. It's been a slow attack on the Western world, the free countries, and to get these illegals into them as quickly as possible, because you've got to dilute the culture of the countries that you're wanting to erase their borders and bring these people in. Now you got Chuck Schumer talking about, we need these immigrants. We need these dreamers to become citizens. We need to give them all asylum because our American people are not reproducing as quickly as they were before. We're not reproducing enough. We need these immigrant families and we're going to need workers in the future. Well, let's just like back that up a little bit and really interpret what he's really trying to say and remind you of some things to remind you of. When you've got a political party like the Democrats who are supporting abortion, killing our babies, our future generations, when you have a political party like the Democrats who are supporting this gender transitioning and gendered ideology, that creates a whole nother, that is the class of people right now, folks, that would be marrying and reproducing and having children. But the Democrats are pushing that and supporting it because they don't want the dumbed down Americans who they've produced coming out of colleges to start having babies. They've indoctrinated them to the point that they're ridiculously stupid. They have no clear vision of what is really happening in this world. They don't have any clarification of what's really happening around them. This is a product of what they've done to young Americans. And these are the kooky people that are out there screaming and yelling and will never have a conversation with you about about abortion, about Palestine. Those are the kooks, the product of these colleges. Why would you want them having kids and bringing up more people like them? So the Democrats feel like we need to bring these foreign people in, these illegals in. We need to bring them in because they have babies. Well, yeah, because guess what? They don't believe in abortion. They don't believe in gender transitioning. And they surely don't believe in breaking down the family unit. So of course they want to bring those kind of people in. But if these damn Democrats and liberals and morons in this country had left us alone, we would be the same America that we were. We wouldn't have the hate, the racial divide, because they suggest and tell you that that is what's happening. We would be a great country if these damn politicians had just left us alone and stopped trying to tell us what we think and how to think. And these college professors. And you know, when you really look at it like that, you realize we've allowed this to happen to us. And this is why there's a movement from people that are saying enough. And this is what they refer to as a grassroots movement. These are people that have had enough, who understand from a grassroots position, we need to rebuild from the bottom up. We need to get this right. We need to put people in leadership who are not going to allow these kooky legislators to get in there and produce bills that go in that are made into laws to happen in our states. I was watching a video of a Muslim man in Michigan speaking about the fact that it was in Dearborn, how the Muslims now control Dearborn, and we are going to become more and more part of the legislation across the United States, and we will one day arrive in the White House. And this is their plan. And I have nothing against Muslims, do not get me wrong. But when you have foreigners who come into the country and you start seeing these Middle Eastern mindset politicians get elected into office, we already see what some of them can do. Rashid, Ilmar, and they have no qualms about the fact that they're pro-Hamas, that they're pro-terrorist. They have ties to those types of organizations. We have got to be careful of who we are trusting to go to our legislature and make the laws that are going to rule us, that are going to guide us, that are going to be our blueprint of how things will happen in our communities. We cannot allow, I'm sorry, but we cannot allow foreigners from different cultures to come in here and bring their culture and their ideas to America. We're free for a reason, and we need to stay that way. And I'm not talking about, people who are of the Muslim faith who've lived here all their lives and understand the importance of freedom. I'm not talking about those type of people. They understand, and they're for it, and they'll fight for it. I'm talking about the people who are immigrating right now, not even immigrating, that they're illegally entering our country. Even here in Mesa, Arizona, we've got the East Valley Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, who unfortunately is a big supporter of illegal business owners here in Mesa, Arizona. And that hurts small business owners, American business owners. But there's all these organizations across the United States, and especially the Democrats, that are pushing for illegal activists to become vocal and become part of the legal process in our states. Get down there to your capitals. Run for office. We have millions and billions of dollars that we're going to put behind you because you are, one, an illegal, and B, an activist. We support you 100%. How many millions of dollars do you need for your campaign? This is the way it's going right now. That's scary thoughts, to think that we're going to have foreigners. And unfortunately, we've got Mayorkas, who is a Cuban immigrant. He is the Secretary of Department of Homeland Security. And when you see everything that he's doing for the benefit of Cuba and allowing all of them to come here, even Cuban criminals, you start to see what I'm talking about. I mean, you understand it and you look at it from a different point of view. I'm going to change the subject up a little bit here and go off of illegal immigration. But so school choice is a big deal here in Arizona. The ESA, the school vouchers, the money follows the student, that was all passed. And of course, you've got a Democratic governor, and all the Democrats down there at the Capitol here in Phoenix are trying to push and say that these vouchers are bankrupting the state, which in fact, there's a lot of mistruths and misinformation that they like to put out there, because when the money follows the student, and I'm just going to give approximate figures, but if they stay at a public school, there's $14,000 that is earmarked per student. Now, if that student decides to use a voucher and go to a charter school or be homeschooled or go to a private school, only like $7,000 of that money follows the student. So $7,000 of it stays with the public school system. So there's no way that we're bankrupting the public school system by half of that money leaving, when our school systems are over budgeted anyway. Over half of the state budget every year, over half of it goes to the school system here in Arizona. So they're having this, let me bring this up here. So many clicks before you can actually bring it up. So, so many things are going on with the school system right now. So the trial in a lawsuit challenging Arizona's funding of public school facilities was scheduled to begin Tuesday, 7 years after the case was filed. And the lawsuit, brought by several school districts and school groups, could change Arizona's funding system for school facilities and put the state on the hook to provide more help to cover repair and replacement of schools. So the case was previously scheduled for trial in January of 23, but the Attorney General, Chris Mays, who had just assumed office, asked for the trial to be delayed so that they could assess the case and determine what the parties could agree on out of court. They had hoped to avoid a trial, but an agreement wasn't reached, and the state's lawyers cited ongoing state budget negotiations as a reason why the parties didn't settle. The Attorney General office will be giving over the defense of the case to lawyers representing the Republican leaders of the Arizona legislature. Yeah. So it says that the state has failed to provide the funding necessary to ensure public school buildings, facilities, and equipment meet minimum standards established by the state and the School Facilities Oversight Board, the lawsuit states. The state there is therefore forcing districts to either allow their buildings to fall into disrepair or divert maintenance and operation funds to support basic capital needs, taking money away from the classroom. The minimum facility standards established by the state and the School Facilities Board are outdated too. But the lawsuit also claims that the state's failure to provide adequate funding ultimately burdens taxpayers to pick up the tab through local property tax measures like bonds and overrides. Okay, this is where they lose me, because there is an abundance of money right now in the Maricopa County School District. And in the Mesa School District, the grassroots movement came together because they were trying for another bond, another 25-year bond and an override. And we pushed and fought that because there's no accountability. And when you've got, let me see, when you've got unaccountability, and you had many, many people, as this whole bond thing was going on, it was a special election that was held last year. You had many, many people showing up at the Mesa School Board meeting and asking them questions about where money was going to go. Why do you need this kind of money? And why do you need this money? And you've said that it's to upgrade buildings and stuff, but what buildings? What campuses are you doing that on? They had no answers for any of that stuff. And we've really got to be demanding more accountability. Every dime needs to be accounted for in a state budget. So, you've got all this money going out from the state in Arizona to different departments, to some organizations that have asked for money, and it could go 5, 6, 10 years, and the money just keeps being reallocated to them every year. And there's no answers, no accountability for what did you actually do with the money. There needs to be annual accountability for every single dime that goes out of the state budget in Arizona. And that's what I'm going to be fighting for when I get down there to the Capitol. I don't think it's right that these guys can skate along for 4, 5, 6, 10 years and not have any accountability and actually show what they're doing with the money. Because as we've seen with things like Fannie Willis's office, they got a grant, and none of that money was even spent on the community building that they said they were going to build. You had a whistleblower from inside who said they were spending it on swag and different things going on in the office. And so now Congress is looking into it because it was a federal grant. So these are the types of things that need to be addressed, that need to be paid attention to. So Maricopa County, and like I was saying, Mesa School District in particular, they had no answers for anything. You've got a high school, Mountain View High School. They got an artificial turf football field. Millions and millions of dollars they spent on it. Why do you need that in Arizona? That grass becomes very, very hot and can burn. That plastic grass, that synthetic grass can injure, rip skin, that type of thing. That is not what we need in Arizona. You've got Bermuda grass on the fields. If that's the type of grass that they have, they may have different types of turf grass. I don't know. But It doesn't take much water to keep grass green. So you're spending millions of dollars on that. But Mountain View, what about your cafeteria? Did it need updates and you just thought, well, we need a football field worse? Did the Mesa School Board make that decision? Where's the accountability? Where's the answers? We need to know this sort of thing. If I'm going to be forking over money every month in my property taxes, then I want to know where it's going. Because almost half of our property taxes here in Mesa go to the Mesa School Board District. And because we were able to, fight that whole bond thing, we got the bond unapproved by the voters. The override did get approved because, of course, misinformation was put out by the school district that our teachers aren't going to be able to get raises if you don't approve the override. Raises are not dependent on if an override vote happens or not. The salaries of the teachers are not dependent on an override. But that's what they made the public believe. And there's actual teachers going out and saying that sort of thing in public, which makes me mad. I don't know, Laura. Laura put a message that she'll be attending U of A on a scholarship, a leadership group, blue chip leadership. I'll look into that for you, Laura. And if anybody who's watching, if you know anything about a blue chip leadership program, if you could please message us, we would appreciate that. So that Laura can decide whether to tell her granddaughter that's a good thing to get into. So anyway, schools, it's heavy on everybody's mind because kids are graduating and kids are moving on to, let me see. It started on Tuesday. That was the article that I read already. So just reading something from Tom Horn. For months, the Arizona Department of Education has sent numerous emails to every district and charter school of the state warning them of impending cutbacks. And Horn and other department officials told the Arizona State Board of Education last month during a contentious meeting where school leaders turned out to vent their frustrations and asked for the board's help. Communication records suggest these assertions were not true. Emails obtained through a public records request show the same March email that sparked outcry was also the first communication sent to every district and charter school on the topic. Only one subsequent mass email mentioned reductions. So I guess that it's going to be a 20% drop in federal funding. Now, what I know, one of our Mesa School Board members is actually in our district. Well, she's in a neighboring district, but we see her a lot. She comes to our meetings, our LD meetings. And she, I have conversations with her. We've got a lot of superintendents in the Mesa School Board or in the Mesa School District and across Maricopa County. We are superintendent heavy. There's a lot of misspending and money that is being had. And to think that half of the state budget goes towards education and property taxes go towards education, it's just hard to believe that a 20% drop in federal funding is going to affect these school districts. The amount of COVID money, and it was hundreds of thousands of dollars, the amount of COVID money that came to us, to the schools in every state was unbelievable. And Mesa School Board was having to admit that there was hundreds of thousands of dollars left over of that COVID money. And yet they were looking for ways to spend the money. And this is what really makes me mad about people in charge, of taxpayer money. You know, it's really easy to spend money that's not yours. But if every legislator would go into office with the intent on acting like they are managing their personal budget, what better place would we be in financially? But you know, we had over $1 billion in surplus 2 years ago. And last year, I think, oh no, it was last year, that they were looking for ways to spend this money. They couldn't spend it fast enough. They couldn't give it away quick enough. To all of these stupid, you know, requests for, you know, studying the spotted owl. You know, I don't know that it was actually that, but those are the stupid types of things that our money goes towards, right? We have to have smarter legislators that go down there to the Capitol with the intent on, like I said, accountability for the money that is sent out and given out by the state. And number two, ways to save money. Protect the taxpayer money in Arizona down at the Capitol like it is your personal bank account and your family budget. Look at it from a different point of view. We don't have to just give this money out because people ask for it to be given to them. Is it going to benefit everybody in Arizona? Or is what the money you're asking for just going to benefit a small little percentage of some little group of people? We have to spend the money in a way that's going to benefit everybody in Arizona. The majority of people in Arizona. So that is my message about all that, about schools and stuff. We talked yesterday about the WHO pandemic treaty thing being overturned, which is a good thing. That was one more. I'm sorry. She's just really upset that the neighbors are out. Bella, come here. I'm not going to go into another article because we've got like 2 minutes left. But if any of you would like to see a special guest on here or whatnot, please let me know. I'm trying to get hold of Candace Owens to see if I can have her come on here. She actually just converted to the Catholic faith, and she's going to be here in Phoenix speaking about this change of events in her life and what made her do this sort of thing. But I'm going to see if I can catch her while she's in town, or she'll be on my show. I was on her show, probably 7 years ago, 5 years ago. It's when we were down in El Paso doing We Build the Wall. And she was down there, came for a symposium that we had, and had a great conversation with her. She's a great girl. I know there's a lot of controversy surrounding her lately, but I really want to try and see if I can get her on the show and maybe have some of those questions answered. But anyway, we will be back on tomorrow. I'm working on a guest for tomorrow. I don't know if they're going to be able to make it, but I hope you all have a great evening. Thank you for joining me today, and we will see you tomorrow. And Bella says bye-bye. Come here. Say bye-bye to everybody.